In this video, we're going to be simplifying trigonometric expressions, giving an exact value, meaning we're not going to use my calculator or our calculators, but rather I'm going to be referring to these charts, which you should have written down on the plates we've made in class. It's our sine, cosine, and tangent for our three special angles, the 30, 60, and 45-degree angles, as well as our quadrantal angles. So as long as we have this chart with us, these problems are not going to be too bad at all. So let me show you how these are going to work, and we'll take a look at a few examples, so feel free to skip around if you need a specific question. So in this case, I'm asked to find out what the sine of 45 times the cosine of 180 is. Well, again, we're not going to use my calculator, or our calculators, but we can look these values up in our chart because 45 and 180 are both values in that chart. So for example, if I look up the sine of 45 degrees, I see that that's just the square root of 2 over 2. So I'll go ahead and make note of that. And then I'll look up the cosine of 180, or maybe you have these values memorized. The cosine of 180 is -1. So really, all this problem is asking me to do is to take square root of 2 over 2, multiply that by -1, and so of course I'll get an answer then of just negative square root of 2 over 2. Now that's my exact value, that's what we're looking for. If you try to type this in your calculator in degree mode, you won't get this. You'll get some decimal approximation of it, and because that decimal is irrational, you can't change it back to a fraction. It can't be written as a fraction unless we do it by hand, like so. Okay, so that's how these problems are going to work. It's really just a matter of remembering how to add and multiply some of these square roots and numbers like that. So let's take a look at a few more examples using that chart. Okay, so this time I want to do 3 times the tangent of 45 plus 4 times the tangent of 180. Again, those are both special angles, so I can look those values up in my chart, and these problems aren't bad at all. So looking up the tangent of 45, I can see that that's equal to just 1, and you can pause the video and double check that for yourself, or go back in the video and look it up in the chart, plus 4 times the tangent of 180. According to my chart, that's just 0. So all this problem is asking me is, what's 3 times 1 plus 4 times 0? Well, of course, that's just 3 when I simplify. And here's an example using radian measures, but again, I can use my chart because both of these are special angles. Pi over 4 is just 45 degrees. 3 pi over 2 is quadrantal, but that's just 270. So I can look up the tangent of pi over 4, or 45 degrees. I see that's just equal to 1. I can also look up the sine of 3 pi over 2, which is equal to -1. And this time I'm asked to subtract those, so again, just being careful about the basics here. 1 minus -1 simplifies to just 2 when I simplify this trigonometric expression. And we'll take a look at just one more, although, again, nothing different here. Pi over 4 and pi over 2 are both special angles in the chart. Our next video, we'll take a look at what to do when these values are not in the chart. So secant of pi over 4, that's just the square root of 2. Now notice that's squared this time, so I've got the square root of 2 squared, plus the cosecant of pi over 2, that's just 1. And when I simplify this, the square root of 2 squared is, of course, 2. Add 1 to that, and I end up with 3. Okay, so again, that's how we're going to be simplifying these trigonometric expressions. They're all going to be given to us for right now so that we have special angles that we're using. So look, we can just look these up in our chart. Let's take a look in our next video about what to do if these are not values that we find in our chart.